Welcome to MacStories Unwind. Today's episode is brought to you by Collide. I'm John Voorhees, and with me is Federico Viticci. Hey, Federico.
Hello, John. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I think we're both kind of melting in the summer sun. I heard on Connected this week that it's up around 100 degrees for you, like 38 or something, or 40 Celsius, something like that.
Yeah, it got to 40 over the past few days. It's been doing slightly better yesterday and today, but yeah, it's been a bit of a struggle.
Yeah, it's 35 Celsius here, about 95. So
thank you. I appreciate you giving me a Celsius temperature.
I know. Well, I looked it up before the show because I'm a professional. You know that.
Thank you.
I want to tell you about something from North Carolina that doesn't involve the sun, or maybe it does because this is a warmer climate than up north where I used to live. I saw a new animal about a week ago.
A new animal.
A new animal.
Okay.
A new animal called a blue skink. I want you to Google this. A skink. I want you to look this up.
It's not a skunk. It's a skink.
It's a skink. It's
oh my God,
just like...
No.
It's a lizard.
Why did you have me Google this?
With a bright blue tail.
And a blue tongue. No.
Yeah, it's kind of cute, actually. They skitter around very quickly. And I just saw one on the sidewalk the other day when I was out for a walk. And Calvin, my son, saw one the day before that. So I guess they're around in the neighborhood.
Oh, they're tiny.
Yeah, they're very small. They're very small.
Oh, from the first photo, I thought it was going to be like an alligator or something.
Oh, no. They would if you picked one up, it would be palm of your hand size. The lengthwise, it would be the palm of your hand.
The blue-tongued skinks. Some of the skink family, blue-tongued, they're commonly called the blue-tongued lizards or simply blue tongues or blueies in Australia. Oh. Interesting, the blueies.
The blueies, I like that name. That's a good name. It's a little bit like a gecko, maybe. Some people might be familiar with that. Like when you go to the islands somewhere and you'll see these little lizards hanging out. It's a little bit like that.
Yeah, we have geckos here. I used to have geckos hang out at my old apartment.
Did they ever get in your apartment?
No. Well, one time, yes. One time, one did. And I'm very pleased to tell you, I managed to make it escape without killing it.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. That's good. Your dogs didn't get at it either, huh? Or was this before you had Selden Ginger?
No. It was. I had the dogs, but we closed the door. Somehow it managed to find its way into the bedroom. And so obviously we needed to get it out, but I didn't want to kill it because I think there's a saying here that geckos are like a symbol of good luck. They bring good luck to your place if you ever find one. And so I didn't want to kill it because I didn't want to have bad luck, obviously.
It's not like you were in the middle of it wasn't the middle of the night and you were sleeping and a gecko crawled up under your sheets.
No. We noticed. It was in the evening, but we noticed the gecko crawl in. And
you wouldn't want to be woken up to a gecko crawling across your chest or something.
No, thank you. That's a nightmare material. No,
it is.
But tell me the circumstances of this. What's it called? The blue skink encounter.
Yeah, I mean, it was very pedestrian, I guess, circumstance. I was just walking home from somewhere, and I was walking down the sidewalk, and it skittered across the sidewalk and into the bushes. And I had just been told. My son had just seen one like the day or two before, and he had told me about them. And I actually had not seen them since we moved here because we moved into this place in November and it was cold and they were probably hibernating. And I didn't see any the summer before when we were in an apartment. But in any event, I had not run across one of these things before. And just a couple of days later, I saw one myself. And, it was kind of, it wasn't like seeing a snake where you're kind of like, ugh. It was just like a little animal and he crawled away. But then I immediately had that thought of, oh, what if one of these gets in the house?
Yeah.
I don't want that to happen.
Hope it doesn't happen. There's a second item in your North Carolina adventures that we need to talk about.
We do. So the other night, I was walking.
There's a second item
town,
in your
North Carolina adventures called the Soda Shop
we need to talk
nearby. About. It's kind of a diner restaurant. I think you'd really like it. It's got all kinds of. It's got breakfast foods. Kind of the classic American breakfast and sandwiches and burgers. It's that kind of place. It's near a college campus, so there's a lot of college kid type food there too. But they were advertising something on a board outside the restaurant called a pickle juice phosphate. And I thought, well, there's something for Unwind right there.
Oh my God.
So a few days later, I went over for lunch with Calvin and I ordered a pickle juice phosphate, which literally is pickle juice from the jar of dill pickles, which, they serve dill pickles as a side on most of the sandwiches. So I'm just imagining they have giant jars of pickles in the back of this restaurant, and they thought to themselves, we've got to find a way to make some money off all of this pickle juice. It's just sitting here going down the drain. We need to find a way to make some money off somebody on this pickle juice. So they're taking the pickle juice, they're carbonating it, and putting ice in it and selling it as a drink. And you know what? I'm here to tell you, Federico, you don't want to try this drink.
Okay, good.
It's about what you'd expect. I think I described it to you as drinking ocean water with strong garlic and dill flavor. I mean, it tastes just like, it's dill pickles, so it tastes just like a dill pickle. And it's extremely salty. A lot like drinking ocean water, but with ice in it, which is really an odd sensation because, I mean, you've probably gotten a mouthful of salt water before at the beach, but it's always in the summertime when it's hot out and the water's probably fairly warm. But this is like ice cold seawater with garlic and dill flavor in it.
Oh my God.
And it was bright yellow, bright greenish yellow, kind of like a Mountain Dew color.
I think I honestly would have been sick if I had tried that.
It wasn't great, and I did not finish it. I did have most of it, but it was weirdly unrefreshing and refreshing at the same time because it was a hot day and it was an ice cold drink, but it was salt water, so it was also making me thirsty at the same time. It was cooling me off.
Very odd feeling.
Yeah.
Apparently, according to Google, pickle juice has a bunch of nutritional benefits.
Oh, see, there you go.
Such as, John, pickle juice can help you fight your cramps. It can be used to treat your hangover. It may aid weight loss and your gut health. You can use it to fight dehydration. It may treat a sore throat, and it can also refresh your breath. Now, you mentioned there was garlic in it, so
I don't know about the breath part.
I have a few doubts about that.
I do too, and I could taste it for hours afterwards because it was, because it was just, I was drinking garlic, Federico. I mean, drinking garlic, you know how it is when you get a lot of garlic, you can taste it for a long time afterwards. This was longer than normal. There was something else, and
Thank you for doing this for the show, but it's unnecessary. Don't do it again.
I know. I wanted to come up with something that was a little off the beaten path in terms of some of the foods we've talked about. And I had never had a pickle juice phosphate in my whole life. And I'm down here in the South trying new things for the audience. Okay, Federico?
Well, okay.
This episode of MacStories Unwind is brought to you by Collide. If you work in security or IT and your company has Okta, this message is for you. Have you noticed that in the past few years, the majority of data breaches and hacks you read about have something in common? It's employees. Hackers absolutely love exploiting vulnerable employee devices and credentials. But it doesn't have to be that way. Imagine a world where only secure devices can access your cloud apps. In this world, phished credentials are useless to hackers, and you can manage every OS, even Linux, from a single dashboard. Best of all, you can get employees to fix their own device security issues without creating more work for IT. And the good news is you don't have to imagine this world. You can have it right now. All you have to do is start using Collide. Collide is the device trust solution for companies with Okta, and it ensures that if a device isn't trusted and secure, it can't log into your cloud apps. Visit collide.com/MacStoriesUnwind to watch a demo and see how it works. That's KOLIDE.com/MacStoriesUnwind. Our thanks to Collide for their support of the show.
So on that note, before we talk about you have a surprise pick this week.
I do.
But before we get to that, on sort of behind the scenes segment, I want to talk about a more serious topic than blue skinks and pickle juice, which is the perennial struggle, a classic unwind, unplugged, and app stories topic. My relationship with Obsidian. Specifically, obviously, as I mentioned multiple times, I've been using this dual setup for the past few months of with Apple Notes for note taking and Obsidian for writing and text editing. Because obviously, I want to write my articles in Markdown and I want to take advantage of Obsidian's Markdown capabilities. But at the same time, for note taking, I kind of wanted to take advantage of Notes, rich text, background sync, just system-wide integration and the latest features of iOS 17, such as internal links. However, I always keep an eye on Obsidian, and there was a feature that launched just a couple of weeks ago, and I thought to myself, this is actually perfect for what I'm working on in the summer with my iOS and iPadOS review. And then just yesterday, you sent me a link to version 1.4 of Obsidian for desktop. I have to assume that it's coming soon to the mobile beta as well. So let's start from the latest feature. The latest feature being there's a brand new properties feature that is effectively a UI front end for the existing metadata, like the YAML metadata that you can add as front matter to a note in Obsidian. For the longest time, you've been able to add metadata tags as plain text, like raw plain text structured with the YAML syntax in Obsidian. And that you could use to power advanced search operators or plugins like DataView. So you could add a layer of metadata to your notes and make them searchable and take advantage of more advanced functionalities such as DataView or, for example, building databases of stuff in Obsidian. Now, obviously, the downside of that is that it was not exactly user-friendly because you were asking people to go in and manually edit the plain text of, which is effectively a code block. And, John knows the YAML syntax is extremely sensitive to changes such as commas, line breaks, and other special characters. It's very easy to break it, and it's very hard to explain to somebody else what they need to do. In version 1.4, without giving up on the underlying syntax, there's a brand new, much, much more user-friendly way to handle what are called properties. So you now have a proper menu to go in and visually edit properties of a note. This is not something you have to do. This is totally optional, but you can add a variety of properties to your note. You can have checkboxes that, for example, you could have a checkbox that says, is this a note I'm still working on? And if you check it, then yeah. You could have a checkbox for related, you could have another field, another property for related notes. And that field supports links to other notes in Obsidian. So just this visual way of dealing with metadata, much more intuitive than the plain text version that used to be supported before. I find it very interesting, especially when working on a big project.
It is. It's really cool. And it supports text, checkboxes, dates, numbers. I think that's about it. Tags too. And it's by having a front end, it removes those problems that you described about getting the syntax wrong because you're not relying on somebody remembering how to do the syntax. And I can tell you, it's not easy to get that syntax right because we rely on YAML for generating the ebook for your annual review. And invariably, you go in there and make a couple of tweaks and break all my YAML, and I have to go through line by line and find all these weird changes that somehow break the YAML and the way the script works. But it's not probably quite as fragile in Obsidian, but it is easy to kind of break your YAML. And to me, what this does is it makes Obsidian work a lot closer to something like Notion, because you know how with Notion you can create databases, and this is something I do to track the sponsors for our podcasts and website, because I can go in and I can have fields for dates, status, people's email addresses, like all the little bits of data that I collect about a sponsor before we do a show or have something on the site. And that's really easy to do in Notion. And then it allows you to search and sort and filter in all sorts of different ways. And this, I think, is going to make that similar process a lot easier in Obsidian.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what's been on my mind as well. Like just now you have a proper visual way to structure your notes, more like Notion. And, I guess the next thing I'm waiting for at this point, now that we have visual properties, I openly wonder, what is the visual equivalent of something like data view? Something that lets you put together visually advanced searches or filters to let you visualize databases,
Yeah.
because data view it's based on a plain text syntax and it does have a very, very steep learning curve. So at this point, I guess I'm waiting for what's the visual version of this, but to do the opposite, to put together searches instead of just adding properties. Anyway, that's only one of the things that has me, sort of keeping an eye on Obsidian, again, behind the scenes. There's also a brand new PDF integration. And let me tell you, John, this new PDF viewer in Obsidian is amazing because it lets me do one thing that I've always dreamt of being able to do. You can select a passage of text, a line of text in a PDF, right-click it, and say, copy link to selection. You get a markdown link. You get a markdown link in your clipboard. You paste it somewhere else in Obsidian, and when you click it again, it takes you to that page, to that passage of text that gets highlighted in yellow.
So that's really nice. That's really nice because they had PDF support, but it was pretty basic early on.
It was just a preview, basically, before.
Right.
Yeah. And now you have a way to deep link specific parts of a PDF. And so I'm thinking about it because like what I'm doing now with the iOS and iPadOS review, I have these PDFs with a bunch of details for both operating systems. And for a decade now, I've been copying and pasting these bits of text, hundreds of bits of text, copying and pasting them from the PDF into my notes. But now with this system, I guess what I could do is just open the PDF on one side, open my notes on the other side, select what I want to select, copy the link, paste the link. And so I don't need to duplicate text. I can just link it to the part of the PDF I need. And for these reasons, I knew that I was going to write the iOS review in Obsidian. I mean, I never had any doubts about that. But the note-taking aspect, I'm thinking about again because it gives me, and this is, I guess, a topic that we will explore more on App Stories, that constant push and pull of the Apple apps are more sort of designed, but the third-party options are more customizable. And there's always that tension between them. So yeah, this is a topic we'll explore on App Stories. But for now, that's sort of my behind the scenes for Unwind.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I really understand your attraction to Notes because it's become such a great app. And for me, though, I've kind of concluded that I really just need to live in plain text. It's just so flexible, and I feel so natural to me since we write in it all day long that I for me, the more I can do in Obsidian, the better, I think, in a lot of ways. I've, had my time with Notion, my time with Notes, and I still, we're using Notion right now for our show notes, but that might change at some point down the road. I don't know. But yeah, I totally get that tension. It's really, it's interesting to me with the PDF stuff too, that Notes has some really amazing PDF integration this year. I was already doing some of my review research in Notes using the PDF feature and highlighting passages of text, but unlike Obsidian, you can't link to it. So you're just kind of stuck with doing what you've done in the past, which is copying and pasting it somewhere and then kind of somehow referring back to a document that you've stored somewhere on your file system or in your note, I guess. All right, Federico, do you want me to, are you ready to be hit with a surprise?
Okay, let's hear it. What you got for me?
All right, I'm going to send you a photo in iMessage. Here it goes.
this is intense. All right. What? Oh, what? Oh my God. Oh, this is very nice. So, can I describe what I'm looking at? So, you have an iPad Pro running iPadOS 17, and you connected to it the NZXT capture card that I wrote about on MacStories for my iOS and iPadOS 17 preview. This is a capture card that lets you connect an HDMI device, and on the iPad Pro, you can run an app to take advantage of UVC, which is USB video capture, to display the signal coming in from HDMI. Coming in from HDMI, in fact, we have the analog, what's it called? The analog Super Nintendo system.
Super NT.
The Super NT running with an original cart of Super Mario World. So you are running Super Mario World on an analog Super NT, going to a capture card, going to an iPad Pro, showing Super Mario World running on iPadOS.
Yep, absolutely. And in between, I've got those up-res sticks.
Oh, you're also
do you see those in the background?
You're also up-resing the image. Wow, you really did it all. And what's the controller? What are you using to play? I guess you have the wired controller.
I am using the original from my original system because I still have my SNES. So. I buy, so the story behind this, and this is the complicated version of this setup. There's a simpler version of this that uses our old friend, the C-Force display. But, when we got the Analog Pocket, I guess that was last summer or early fall, I think it was.
No. Well,
or was it before that?
That was 2 years ago, I think.
Oh, my gosh. Well, I ordered, so I've enjoyed that so much over the past year or so that last fall, Analog said they were going to do one final run of the Super NT.
Yeah, and I missed it. Yeah,
I've had my eye on this thing for years and thought, and I always thought, well, I really don't have that many SNES carts, and I don't really play them a lot, and I was back and forth, and I went in and bought it, and I bought it last fall, and it took this long to come. It took 9 months for them to actually produce these and send me one. And I love it. I mean, I think the main reason I got it was really just for a portable setup, because you can tell from looking at the picture how small it is. It's really just a little bit wider than a SNES cartridge and less deep than an iPad Pro keyboard. So it actually, plug this thing into an outlet, HDMI cable running to something like the C-Force portable display, and it looks terrific. And this setup is a little convoluted and a little much, but I wanted to see if I could up-res it and send it to the iPad. So I did that too this morning. But I have a lot of experimenting to do with this. I only got it about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I think, and haven't had a lot of time to play with it yet. But it's pretty cool. And their hardware, Analog does such a good job with their hardware. The sound is so good. I mean, they use really good components, I think. And I don't, and their software is so good. It also comes with a game built right into the device itself.
This is incredible. I mean, I love this. And how's the latency? I didn't have any problems with my Nintendo Switch when I ran a similar.
No, I haven't had it. I haven't had a problem at all. I was playing this morning. It was totally fine.
Nice.
And the sound sounded great on the iPad Pro's speakers. I mean, it comes with the game that's built into it. I don't know. Maybe you're familiar with this game, Super Turrican Director's Cut. So this is, I guess, a very classic Metroidvania, I think, game from the SNES years that came out, and then they got whoever made it built a director's cut, and they include it in the built into the hardware.
Interesting.
Yeah, I haven't really played it much. It looks like one of those games that's basically impossibly hard. It's one of those kind of games.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so I had maybe a dozen cartridges already that I got, back in the day in the 90s when I had when my SNES was brand new. And so I've been over on Lukey Games, the used video game store that's based in Florida, I think, and purchasing, filling a few holes in, because I didn't have any Zelda games. I didn't have.
Oh my God. You should play A Link to the Past.
I got A Link to the Past, and I got Super Mario Kart, which I also didn't have. So yeah, I was filling in some holes with some classics, and at least some classics that don't cost like $200-$300, because there are some of these cartridges get expensive.
They really do.
Right, but a lot of the first party stuff is not too bad. Whether it's whether it's a Zelda game or a Mario Kart or a Mario game. Oh, and I got Yoshi's Island too, which is supposed to be.
Oh, that game is lovely. Yes.
Yeah, and I haven't had a chance to try that yet, but I had never played that one either. So I got three new games, and I'm gonna maybe build that collection a little bit over time. But I don't know. I'm really looking forward to it. It's kind of fun. Like I have it in the picture. I have it sitting out on our patio table, and I'm gonna wait till when the sun goes down and it's not quite so bright. It should be nice to sit out there in the evening and play that way.
Very nice, very nice. Speaking of Zelda, and before we wrap up, I wanna put out a couple of questions to MacStories Unwind listeners, and feel free to let us know either on Discord if you are a Club MacStories Discord member and you listen to Unwind Plus, or just let us know on Mastodon, or you can let John know on Threads, but I cannot use Threads and I will not see your notifications if you try to mention me. First question is, should we peer pressure John into finishing the story of Tears of the Kingdom? And the second question is, should we do at some point this summer a spoiler episode of the Tears of the Kingdom story? I ask because I'm almost at the end of the main story and I'm about to finish the main storyline, and I really need to talk about it with John, but two things need to happen. We need to peer pressure John and then we'll have a conversation. So let us know but seriously, if that's something that Unwind listeners will like, let us know on Mastodon or Discord, whatever you prefer.
Yeah, that would be really cool to find out from people about that. Yeah, I've noticed that you've been playing more the last few days. You had when you went on vacation, you had a long period there where you weren't playing.
I was not playing, and then I set my mind and I said, no, I need to finish this game. And so a few hours each night. I've been sleeping a little less, but it's totally worth it.
See, I've been back on my wandering ways with the game. I'm still playing the story, but very slowly, mostly just doing a lot of side quests and things like that.
I haven't done those at all. Just the main quest.
Yeah, no, I've been doing all the side quests and collecting everything I possibly can, and only playing lately maybe 30 to 45 minutes every couple of days. So I've definitely slowed down. I haven't stopped. And I do intend to finish the story at some point. But
it's so worth it, and there's one specific thing that I'm dying to tell you, but I obviously won't. And it's so unexpected. You're going to love it when you see it. Yeah, and you know it when you see it. It's,
All right. Well, you've given me some inspiration. Maybe we won't need the peer pressure at all because you and I haven't
talked. You don't get it. This was peer pressure.
Oh, I see. Yeah, because you and I have not talked about this game in quite a while, so it was interesting. All right. Sounds good. All right, Federico. Well, that's it for this week. I want to thank our sponsor again. That's Collide. You can find the two of us over at MacStories.net. Federico is on Mastodon at vitici.macstories.net, and I'm johnvorhees.macstories.net. You can find us on Instagram too, and I'm on Threads. And if you message Federico, make sure you also mention me so that I can tell him what you said. Federico is on Instagram as @Vitici. That's VITICCI, and I'm at John Voorhees. JOHNVOORHWS. Talk to you next week, Federico.
Ciao, John.